Joining us now, national affairs correspondent at The Nation, John Nichols. John is joining us, as well as Tim Miller and Cornell Belcher, who are still with us. Cornell, I want to start with you on this. Toughen up. How do you take that?
Look, I think there's a perception out there, and look, I've done a lot of qualitative research post-election with voters who sat this election out, Democratic voters who sat this election out, and there is a sense out there that Democrats don't seem to stand and fight, and they not sure what Democrats stand for beyond being against Trump. And there is an absolute desire among the base of the party for Democrats to take on and challenge Trump and what's happening in this country in a more forceful and vocal way. Look, and bottom line is even if you can't do anything in Congress, like half the job is showing up, right? And like Bill Clinton always talked about it is feeling their pain and meeting them where they are in their pain. And lots of Democratic voters out there don't think this is a party that is fighting and feeling their pain and standing up to Trump. And then, quite frankly, when they see Democrats after the election waffle on what it is that they actually believe in, part of that's reinforced. And I think what President Obama is saying is you got to stand in your beliefs and your values and fight for your beliefs and your values. And Republicans, whether you agree with them or not, what voters always say is they stand and fight. And let's understand, Katie, what they're standing and fighting for often is not very popular at all.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily popular things, but it's still the idea that they stand and fight. And it's hard to mobilize your voters for you when they don't think you're standing and fighting for them. And we see that in all the data from the post-election up to right now.
So what's interesting is, and I think this jumps off from what we were talking about a moment ago with Phil, which is giving voters a reason to vote for you, not just a reason to not vote for the other person. And John, one example that we're seeing of that is right here in New York City. We have a Democratic nominee for mayor here, Zohran Mamdani, who has given people a reason to vote for him. He's given them a positive message of here's what I'm going to do for you. Here are my policies, in addition to pushing back on the stuff that I think is wrong that the administration is attempting. But first and foremost, it is a position of I'm going to do this stuff for you to make your life better when I become, or if I become, the leader of this city.
That's exactly right. And look, I know a lot of folks are talking about the Epstein files, and I recognize that. And I actually recognize why there's an interest there. But I'll just let you know that in the last 24 hours, Zohran Mamdani has been tweeting about the heavy rains in New York and the flooding of subways, about new affordable housing, about a tour he took of Little Haiti with the head of the Brooklyn Democratic Party, where he actually didn't just tell people things, he was asking people questions about what concerned them as regards affordability. He also picked up the endorsement from DC 37, the largest public employees union, and from the musicians union in New York City. That's an active Democrat going out and doing a lot of things that are interesting to people who might be able to vote for him. And I would just tell you that, frankly, if all Democrats were doing a lot more of that, and maybe a little less kind of riding the moment, riding the story of the last hour or the last day, I think they might be getting a lot more traction, as Mamdani is.
An interesting take, Tim, because right now Democrats don't have any power in Congress. They don't have the majority. They can only, they could try to hold committee hearings, and they're not going to be able to because they're not in charge of the committees. They can hold news conferences and demand answers, but they can only do so much. Do you think that it would be a better idea for them to start going out there and offering a positive approach for what they envision a democratically led future can be, in addition to, or making secondary, the stuff that Donald Trump is doing is illegal and wrong? I mean, how do you balance those two? Because when you're watching Donald Trump's policies on a national level unfold, the Democrats are obviously very angry and they feel like he's crossing a lot of lines that need to be called out.
Yeah. Well, look, I think doing stuff with the power they have in D.C., which is minimal, they should, and they have with the Epstein thing. I think this is smart to jump on this, and they put it up for a vote, and the Republicans blocked it. But now they have the Republicans on record on that. I think that is a useful use of an afternoon for the Democrats, right? There's a lot of time between now and the next midterms. Like, my advice to Democrats who always call me, which is, I guess, somewhat related to what former President Obama was saying about getting out of the fetal position, is as there's so much to be outraged about or passionate about in this moment, and you should channel whatever it is you're authentically outraged about. I know this might seem kind of naive, but if you care a lot about, if you're extremely mad, as I am, about the immigrants who have been kidnapped and sent to a foreign prison, then you should do what Chris Van Hollen did and go down to El Salvador. If you're upset about, as Zoran is, talking about spending and affordability, then yeah, go out there and do events. I think what people want and what they're craving right now is passion in this moment that feels commensurate with what they feel, like either rage or anger or energy that feels in line with how they feel. And to me, it's very reminiscent, Katie, if we're going to do flashbacks to the 2012s, of how Trump channeled the Republican voters. Like, there was a period of time where Republican voters felt they were force-fed John McCain and Mitt Romney, two guys I love, but weren't exactly, the most, passionate, rousing, representatives of their values. And when they looked at Trump and they said, that guy's going to fight for us. And that didn't resonate with me in particular, but I understand why it resonated with them. And I think that Democrats don't need their own Trump per se, but they need somebody that all Democrats should think about, how am I going to represent that I'm going to fight for people on the issues I care about.
That's why I think this New York City race is actually going to be really interesting. I know we got the first version of it during the primary, but we're going to continue getting a fight for democratic ideas for the next couple months, because you have Andrew Cuomo, John, who's now back in the race, at least appearing to learn some lessons. He's changing up some of the way that he's campaigning. He's out on the street looking like he's interacting with people. It's a bit looser. He's talking about affordability. You also have the current mayor, Eric Adams, staying in this race, which means there will be a fight for the proper messaging for the Democratic Party. Mamdani won the primary, but he didn't win lower income voters. He didn't win black voters. And those are two areas that the Democrats nationally need to do better on.
Yeah, look, I think the fascinating thing about the moment right now is that Cuomo just got back in the race after kind of, stepping out of it and sending mixed signals. Now he's clearly back in, and he even cut a video of his own out on the street of New York. Although I think there might be a lesson there that it's not just about cutting a video. It's actually about saying something of consequence in it. What's interesting to me is that in this, if indeed this is a fight for the soul of the Democratic Party, what you see with Mamdani is a very energetic effort to do tons of things every day all over New York with people on the street and people in neighborhoods. And I will go back to that thing I said a moment ago. Many Mamdani videos and many of his events involve him asking people what bothers them and what concerns them. He has gone to neighborhoods where he didn't do so well in the primary and spent a ton of time there since the primary talking to people, winning endorsements, in fact, winning a lot of endorsements from all over the city. And I guess that's sort of at the heart of the Democratic Party. We talk about the messaging a lot. And clearly with Mamdani, the messaging is affordability. Now Cuomo says he's going to adopt that. But we should also be conscious of the fact that it is how you deliver the message, how energetic you seem, how passionate you seem, and frankly, and this may be the word that we always lose but should underline, how interested you seem.
How exactly, how interested, how invested you are in the individual that you're talking to. I don't know if it was just me, but your Wisconsin accent for a couple of those words started to line up with a New York accent. There was some talking. There's another word that got me. I don't know, John. Maybe you got to come back here to New York and make a home of it out here.
I love New York City very, very much, but I'm a seventh generation Wisconsinite. I don't think I can get my mispronunciations out of my language.
No, it was adjacent. Maybe it's just me. All right, John, Cornell, and Tim, you guys are sticking around. But John, thank you very much for joining us today. Always appreciate it.